Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Eric, and today we're going to talk about why it's so important to do a compression check first. And this is where I always say this kind of defines who are good mechanics and who are great mechanics. And the great mechanics are the ones that can do things in the shortest amount of time but come to the same result, if that makes any sense. Alright, so let's say this chainsaw came in and you and I are both looking at it, and the customer is telling us it's hard to start. If he can get it started, it's really doggy and it just hasn't been running that great. All right, if you don't have a system in place of how you're going to come at everything that you do in the shop, when I say a system, I mean like doing compression first, fire second. It's not fire first, compression second. There's a system that you get in place, and every great mechanic that I've met has that system in place. So let me just show you what I mean. All right, so a good mechanic will say, okay, let me get her out on the bench. Takes it out on the bench and starts disassembling it, thinking there's probably dirt in the carburetor, it's bogging down, and so he takes the time to tear that carburetor all apart. Lets it soak in the ultrasonic cleaner for half an hour, okay? Gets a new kit, carburetor kit, puts it all back together, buttons it all back up, and it's not making any difference. All right? Gotta be the air cleaner, so he puts a new air cleaner on it. That doesn't make a difference. And the other complaint was that the handle was loose. So, well, let me get the handle, let me fix that. So he goes ahead and he fixes the handle so that it's solid and all the buttons are in place, right? Still not running right. So, let's go to, we need to adjust the carburetor to make sure that the jets are where they need to be. Well, you just redid it, so okay. Take it all the way in till it bottoms, bring it out 1 1/4 each side, and then start trying to get it to fire, but you're cranking your ass off on it, all right? So now you say, well, it's got to be bad gas. So you take the thing, dump all the gas out, put fresh gas in it, still the same. Well, maybe it's the plug. The plug maybe is misfiring or whatever. So you take the plug out, put a new plug in it, still no different. Why am I going and showing all those different scenarios? Because that's what a good mechanic does, is he just starts, there's no rhyme or reason. He's just fixing everything that he sees that he thinks needs being fixed. The great mechanic has a system. He's going to pop that spark plug out, he's going to thread this compression tester in, and he's going to crank it over 4 or 5 times, check his gauge, and if his gauge is reading 3540, says, huh. So, hits the little button on the side to release it, cranks it 4 or 5 more times again to see if it makes any difference on the gauge. It doesn't. Tell me who is the smarter mechanic? The guy that just spent 2 minutes doing a diagnostic on that and finding out that there was no compression and got to be the bearer of bad news to the customer saying, look, Joe, this puppy is whipped, all right? It's worn out. Whatever the reason is, there's no compression in there, and the only way you're going to get compression back is if we rebuild it. That's it. Now, you could be the good mechanic and have a parts list of everything that you've done. You know, the air filter, spark plug, carburetor kit, the buttons on the arm to get it soldered up, and then your time, which ends up being roughly around 2 hours. Who's doing the better job? I know if I were the customer and you came at me and you said, sorry Eric, it doesn't have compression and that's as far as we went, but there is a $45 diagnostic fee. That's what we charge to find out what's going on with the saw. I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but that's just the way it is. Or I could hear, Eric, sorry, your saw doesn't have any compression, you know, and it's just not worth fixing or rebuilding, but I've got close to $70 in parts plus 2 hours labor that you do owe against the saw, but it's still crap. I like the 45 over a couple $100 with the same outcome. And if you're not doing it with compression first, in all honesty, if you ask me, you're screwing your customer. Because the way to get customers is to treat them fairly and honestly. And I would have a hard time if one of my mechanics came in and told me that they did everything else. They give me a bill sheet of what parts they used and how much time they got in it, and then tell me that they finally did a compression test and it read 35. Because the first question I'm going to ask them is, why didn't you do the compression test first? Well, I thought it was all this other stuff. Well, thinking doesn't make it right. I have to talk to the customer. And the last thing I want to do is tell the customer that they owe me over $200 for a dead saw. It's still a dead saw, whether they owe me 45 or 200. 45 will bring that customer back every time when they have a problem to have you take a look at it first. 200, they won't come back. And they will tell everybody and their brother of how you guys suck. I already know it. Been there, done that. So, trying to keep it upbeat for you guys. This is going to be your go-to when it comes to doing your diagnostic. And you have to keep it in that order. If you get ahead of yourself and you're checking for fire and you don't have fire, but you didn't do a compression test, and you went in and you changed the coil and you changed the kill switch on the chainsaw, and ends up this is 35, again, you're not being a great mechanic. You're being a good mechanic of just trying to figure out, throwing things on the wall and see what sticks. What I'm trying to teach here, and I'm trying to teach even you veterans that are doing a small engine and even the compacts and all that, is you need to learn how to diagnose first, fix second. Do the preliminary in the beginning and make sure you do a proper diagnosis. And that's always, always, always going to start with compression. And I'll tell you, even with me, I've got 3 compression testers. And if I get a low reading on this, let's say 35, first thing I do is I go over to my toolbox, grab the second one, throw it in there to see maybe this has gone bad. Because they do go bad. The rubbers get leaked, where they're leaking down here, they start leaking by here. But I'll throw a second compression tester on it, and if I get the same reading, it's the same reading. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do here with these videos is show you the difference between a good mechanic and a great mechanic, and that you can be that great mechanic and lead your shop in great customer service, professionalism, and being fair with the customer. I think if you were the customer and I came at you and told you it's going to cost you $45, this is the problem and this is a solution. If you want to go with a new jug, new piston, new ring, might as well do it all while we're right there, right? And let the customer decide what they want to do at that point. Let you decide. Or if I came to you and I said, look, it's only got 35 for compression, it needs 90 or above to run. And I do have to bill you for the carburetor kit, the air filter, the time that I did with the screen arrestor and rebuilding the carburetor. And I also fixed your handle while I was there. I know what you're going to be thinking, right? What the hell? What difference does my handle and my carburetor and my air breather and my spark arrestor in your 2 hours make it any different than the great mechanic that comes in and within 3 to 4 minutes has already got that saw diagnosed? I mean, I'm serious, guys. If you guys want to be great mechanics, this is the way to do it. So, the first thing you're always going to do is you're going to do compression. That's going to give you a baseline. 100 is really one to shoot for, like Jason says. But I know that they'll run at 90 or above. The older saws, they aren't as great, you know, but a lot of times it's just enough for the homeowner to keep using them. Once we know that it's got good compression, then we can go on to fire. And when we do the fire, we want to make sure that we're getting... Fire isn't fire, all right? Because you can have a weak spark and a bright spark. And if it's a low spark, you may not be getting enough coming from the coil, the pickup, to energize that spark plug. So the second thing is, let's just find out if we have any fire coming through that system. If we have fire, we've done our first 2 steps, and that's going to take you less than 5 minutes to figure out those 2 things already. From there, I'll dump the fuel. But it would be kind of crazy for me to take the time to dump the fuel and do everything else before I did the first 2, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm doing a diagnostic on it. And what you're doing is you're eliminating the top 4 reasons that a small engine, whether it be a chainsaw, trimmer, snowblower, riding lawnmower, you know, they're all in that same boat. Those 4 things, that if all 4 are present, it will run. But if any one of those isn't, it's not gonna. All right, so you've done your compression, your fire, drain the fuel. If you're running a shop and you're not draining that fuel when it comes into your shop, then you're just spending a lot of time that you don't need to. Because, you know, I say this a lot, that's one of the biggest culprits we see here. And that's why I instituted a policy of, I don't care how fresh it smells, looks, what have you, I'm dumping it. Because I want a good baseline, because I know what my fuel is. I got treated fuel, I got 91 octane, and I know it's less than a week old. And I know that it's going to be just a perfect fit. And a lot of times when you do drain the fuel out of here, what you're also going to need to do is try to get everything out of that carburetor as well. So they're taking the spark plug out and just pulling it over and letting it clear itself out, and, you know, even hitting a couple shots of carb cleaner into the cylinder, not when you're trying to fire it, but just to clean it out. It'll take the water and evaporate it. You still may end up, after you've done your compression, your fire, you drained your fuel, you put fresh fuel in it, you still may have problems with fuel because you still got some fuel that's in the lines, right, in the carburetor. So you may have to do a few tries to get that worked through. And I usually put in a brand new plug when I'm doing that. All right, so now we know we have great compression, 90 or above, 100 above. We know we got good fire on the plug. We know now we have good fuel in the system. The last thing that we need to look at is air. Okay? Is it getting proper ventilation? And I tell you guys in these videos that when you're adjusting the jets on your carburetor, make sure that you have a good air breather, a clean air breather on that, because it's going to have some resistance. So if you're adjusting it with the air breather off, the minute you put that back on, it's going to act differently, right? And if it's really dirty and you have it on, it's going to act like it's choking all the time. It's adding excess fuel that they can't burn because it's drawing it in too much. At that point, once you know you have a running saw and everything checks out, then you can address the handle if you got problems with the handle. If you want to clean the spark arrestor while you're right here, then fine. But if I came at you and I told you it was going to cost you a couple $100 for a running, almost like brand new saw out of here, you'd be happy. But if I told you that it's going to cost you $200 and you got no compression, it's a different story, right? So you need to think of the customer first, and you also need to think of the shop first. And that is not to put on things to your customers that you don't need to put on. If they've got a perfectly good air filter on it, don't put on a new air filter to upsell an air filter. I don't believe in that. If they need it, they need it. If they don't, don't. Be fair with your customer, and your customer will want to come back and take care of you. That's the theory in business that I've always followed. That's been my motto, is just be truthful, honest, even when you have to give people bad news. You know, it is what it is. But what I've found is that by being totally honest with my customers and upfront and keeping them involved in the process as much as they want, they are my best advertisers. And they bring all their stuff to me. And a lot of times when you get a new customer, they may bring you one piece of equipment just to check and see how you are. Because most people are worried about how much it's going to cost, and they're worried about getting screwed. And if you take good care of them, like you should be anyways, next thing you know, they're going to be dragging in all the rest of the stuff that they've got. If you got any questions, put it in the comments. You know, am I making it understandable, I guess, is the biggest thing. Because that's what I want at the end of the day, is for you guys that are learning, and for you guys that are good mechanics that want to be great mechanics, to have a process set up and a sequence on how you do it. There's no reason why you can't do a complete diagnostic on this chainsaw in less than 10 minutes. I'm serious. And bill $45. But if I think I can fix that chainsaw after that 10-15 minutes within the hour or within an hour and a half, I go ahead and fix it. I drop the diagnostic fee out, and it's just strictly hourly at that point. Don't charge both. That's not fair. Diagnostic is $45 and our hourly is $65. So it's better to get paid $65 for that hour than it is $45. You see what I'm saying? So if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I answer every one of them, and I read every one of them. On that note, you guys have a great day.